You ought to live so God can use you.
The SWAN Silvertones, one of the greatest gospel groups of all time, had its humble beginnings in the coal fields of southern West Virginia. Led by Alabama native Claude Jeter, the group had a run of nearly 3 decades, leaving a legacy of some of the most beautiful, soulful, and stirring gospel performances ever recorded. In particular, Jeter's acrobatic falsetto has rarely, if ever, been equaled. His singular style influenced an A-list of singers that include Sam Cooke, Al Green, and Curtis Mayfield. The SWAN's close harmonies are echoed in the music of soul groups like The Temptations, and one of their songs provided the inspiration for one of Paul Simon's biggest hits. Jeter's family moved to eastern Kentucky in 1921 after his father, an attorney, died suddenly. Later, Jeter worked as a miner in Kentucky and West Virginia. Inspired by vocal groups like the Mills Brothers and the Golden Gate Quartet, he began singing with other miners, taking advantage of the acoustics underground to perfect their harmonies. Jeter formed the Four Harmony Kings in 1938, and in 1942 moved the group to Knoxville, Tennessee, where he changed the band's name to the Silvertone Singers. The group landed a Sunday morning spot on radio station WBIR, one of the first black gospel shows on American radio. That show was an instant hit, and after just 3 weeks, the SWAN Bakery offered to sponsor the Silvertones, provided they add SWAN to their name. Singing in the traditional Jubilee style, the group quickly made a name for itself, earning as much as $500 a night. At that time, the lineup included Jeter, Roosevelt Payne, Henry Bossard, John Miles, and Solomon Womack, the patriarch of one of West Virginia's premier musical families. The SWANs first recorded for Cincinnati-based King Records, one of the first labels to sign both black and white groups. King's diverse roster included Homer and Jethro and James Brown, as well as many gospel artists. The group had already relocated to Pittsburgh when they signed with Art Rupe's Specialty Records in 1952. Unlike King Records, Rupe wanted the group to recreate its live shows, which had evolved into impassioned performances with Jeter and Womack, and later Paul Owens, challenging each other. Womack's I Cried showcased the singers' contrasting styles.
And it cried. I stood.
Known as house wreckers, the SWAN's concerts left audiences emotionally spent and spiritually satisfied, and the more church-oriented style encouraged the singers to improvise, shout, and create otherworldly sounds with their voices. Their years on Specialty were lean, and some members, unable to support their families, were forced to leave. Exhaustion led to a bout of pneumonia that killed Womack in the early 50s. His sons and nephews, Bobby, Curtis, Friendly Jr., and Harry, formed the Womack Brothers and the Sam Cooke-produced Valentinos. Recording for the VJ label from 1955 to 1965, the SWANs benefited from new guitarist Linwood Hargrove and became one of the first gospel groups to add a rhythm section. The group hit its stride with Jeter compositions like Sinner Man and All Night, All Day.
Let me tell you that it's all night, all day.
The group performed at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1966. Perhaps the SWANs' most famous song, Mary Don't You Weep, included the line, I'll be a bridge over deep water if you trust in my name.
I'll be a bridge over deep water if you trust in my name.
Introduced to the group's music by musician-producer Al Cooper, Paul Simon was inspired by the line to write his #1 hit, Bridge Over Troubled Water. As a result, Jeter guested on Simon's 1973 album, There Goes Rhymin' Simon. Savior Pass Me Not from the same era was featured in the 1991 film The Big Easy. The gorgeous vocal interplay is about as close to heaven as you're likely to get on this earth.
I'm begging you, Lord, with tears in my eyes.
Tired of endless touring, Jeter left the group in the late 60s to head up his own ministry. He passed away on January 6, 2009. Through each incarnation, the SWANs remained on the cutting edge of gospel, never content to simply ride the latest wave. In the late 70s, the last original Swan, John Miles, retired. His grandson, Reverend R.L. Bush, formed the new Swan Silvertones in 1999 to carry on the group's legacy. The Swan Silvertones were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2002 and the International Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 2003.
Angel watches over me.